Welcome everyone. My name is Evelyn and I have so much to bring you today. I did my 7-deck read, which you can see on the table. But I also went to Witality again on the 5th, so I have to tell you about that because it was very profound. And I have some other very significant messages before we even get to the 7-deck read. But we're going to get to as much as I can today. I'm actually still I'm feeling a little nervous about it. The last couple days were really heavy after kind of recovering from Witality. And I'm just excited to tell you what I experienced. So I was just doing a meditation for you as well, but let me tell you about Witality first, then we'll get to the meditation and get into the other messages. So on the 5th, I went to Witality. It was the second time I did it, for those of you who are new to my channel. I went in July, and it was very feminine oriented for me anyway. A lot to my left side was going on. If you're not familiar with Witality, it's a breathwork session with Witality, which is the person who performs the session. And he was a professional basketball player who became paralyzed and healed himself, and that's why he does what he does. And this is his last tour of doing the live group sessions. So if you can get in this last tour, I would do it if I were you. It's a really amazing session. So in my session, there's a lot of personal stuff that comes up for me. You go through like a wave of different releases. So the way he sets it up, it would take a while to explain the whole process. But he goes through music and words to bring up like all your different emotional bodies, bringing up different areas of your life. And all of the reactions are involuntary. You just start crying, or you just start laughing, or you just start screaming. And I went through the whole gambit of emotions the first time I did it in July, and it's all a positive experience. But I wasn't prepared for what I was going to experience this time. So we had done our initial breath work, and so we were all getting into it, and you'll start hearing people crying or screaming, and I was just still waiting for whatever was going to happen with me to happen, and you continue to breathe throughout the whole session. And it started out with some personal things and this connection that then took me to, and it was very masculine oriented. I was pulled to my right side at one point, and there was energies around masculine pain, and hunger was also coming up. And then the issue that came up brought up, it was really, really interesting because it was bringing up the light regarding someone personal to me, but then also the extreme darkness of that same person. And as that was happening, I feel myself starting to anger, but not like me, like I would, but I started to, like, my lips, I just felt my lips starting to curl. And the next thing I know, I'm growling. And I'm clawing the floor, literally like a Linda Blair exorcist moment. So I was growling, and everyone's doing their own thing, and everyone's hearing me go through this. I'm growling and clawing the floor. And then one of the assistants came over to calm me and redirect me back to my breathing after that. So I had set the intention before I went to, of course, clear as much as I could for my own wounding, but also to clear the room and the collective in that. So we're going through a few more of the steps, and then we get to a point where we're just supposed to scream out. I forget what the instruction was. We were screaming out a word or something positive that you feel, and it was towards the end. And I was so exhausted by then from the breathing work, I couldn't even think of what I felt at the moment. I just screamed as loud as I could. And when I screamed, all of a sudden, that scream went into a rant from the mother through light language, which I had never been able to express before. And it just came out like she was ranting for, I don't know how long it was. It's hard to tell when you're in that state, but it felt like she was ranting for like 10 minutes. And then she calmed. It was like I felt like she pushed the dark energies of the room out of me in order for her to come in and speak this. So she obviously, I'm getting big connection right now, and she just came out clearing all the crap out and then softened into this motherly love. And the whole thing was positive. Nothing felt negative about it. It just felt like, you know, initially she was more harsh in coming in with the light language. And then she softened into this mother energy where I just wanted to, I wanted to laugh from the joy that I was feeling of her wanting to express her love for her children. And literally, when I say Sophia, I mean all the mothers expressing themselves. Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, Mother Earth, Mother Nature, all of those energies were coming in. And when she softened to this, and then, you know, I'm settling down, because each wave it sparks up and then it settles back down again, and she's settling back down. And the last word she kept saying over and over again was the man, the joy, the man, the joy. And she was just so loving, and I had my arms out like trying to hug my children. It was just the most amazing experience. And every time I just wanted to laugh from the joy that I felt, not because I thought it was funny. It's the laughter is that high vibrational joy that brings her love out. It was just so amazing to feel that. And then as she quieted, I was still in that, and I actually literally just died at one point. I just collapsed and wasn't breathing. I didn't feel dead. I just felt dead. I don't know how to describe it, but I went through like a death right there. And then as he instructed to say something positive again, or just a loving word, or what you were feeling, I forget what it was. Then Kuan Yin came in speaking some Asian language, but, you know, again, that light language kind of energy, but very softly, because I'd been so loud with the mother. You know, we were trying to keep it quiet now for the others so we wouldn't ruin their process. And so she came in really softly, and she was saying things, but then she would giggle. And it was so wonderful to feel that energy. And she did that like 2 or 3 times, I think it was. I can't remember because it was all so much. And yeah, then after that, it settled down. But when I did this read for you yesterday, I did it not last night, because I was going to do it this video for you yesterday. I just couldn't. The energy wasn't right. But the night before, I did this 7-deck read for you. And in the code line, Mother Teresa was coming through. So again, like I said, all the mothers were coming up through Sophia. And then Mother Teresa specifically came up in the read for you guys. And so I looked up Mother Teresa, and her birthday, number one, is August 26th, 1910, I'm thinking, which is a Virgo, and we're in Virgo season right now. But the day she died was September 5th of 97. And that was the day I was at Witality, and that is her feast day. And it was so funny because at the session, he always asks if it's somebody's birthday, because he gives an example and he uses the birthday person. But there was no one who raised their hands that it was their birthday on the 5th. And then Mother Teresa was coming in making a joke that, excuse me, but you didn't recognize my feast day that day. And here was all these mothers coming out to express themselves. So it was just such an amazing experience. If you have any questions about it, you know, please comment below. I would love to hear. I wish I had a recording of it, because like I did this in front of 100 people. So he actually posted to the group afterwards, like that was like the best session we've ever had. So it was an amazing time. So now let me get to my meditation that I just did for you guys. And by the way, I pulled from the Ascension deck really quick right before I started the video, and I said again who came through that day. and Kuan Yin came up. Now Sophia's not in the decks, and that's what I would call it. So, but Kuan Yin came up. How perfect is that? And I pulled cards the other day too, and I'll share that with you as well. And then the Intergalactic Council came in after that, which is 29, which is the Three of Wands, which is also the gift of the moment. And the 43 is that coming together in joy. So there was this beautiful energy coming through here, but we'll get into that. I might even pull another card from that in front of you, just so, you know, we see what comes up. So the meditation I just did was getting pretty complicated. So I don't have all of the clarity about this meditation, but I'm going to tell you what I saw and what did come together for me. And then if you want to bring anything to that, I would love that. If you would share in the comments what you were getting from it. So I went into my meditation at 3 o'clock. It's 4:12 now. And the first thing I saw was like a fox guiding traffic. And then I was getting that, I don't know, who's the little cartoon character who wears the big Mexican hat or cowboy hat, something like that. And that was the energy I was getting from it. But it was this fox guiding traffic in this big hat, like a cartoon character. And then I saw the letter E in the rounded form, like epsilon. Then I see Smokey the Bear, who also wears a hat, mind you. And then I see a black cat wearing a crown that's too big for them. So it's like they put, I don't know if that same black cat put that crown down and then pulled up another one, or if it was a different feminine cat who then comes in with this beautiful little crown that fits her perfectly. And it has it like, from the traditional crown, has like a phased array coming down in the front, like Cleopatra kind of energy, and Spirit's still connecting with me. And then literally I was getting Cleopatra because they wanted me to get the word Cleo, because Leo is in there, which was also coming up afterward. And then I saw the letter E again, but now it's squared, the squared E. And again, all of the meanings of E were coming up, which is energy, of course, and temple is another definition of the E, and then Euler's E, and then one equal and congruent to that E as well. But all of those energies were coming up. And then the letter E went to the letter O, but the O was much thicker than the E, and all of a sudden it had a dent in it and it became a heart. And it was a very thick, like 3-layered heart. And then I see a little Y coming in, but it doesn't really come fully. So I'm like, am I supposed to tell people there was a letter Y there? But then I'm seeing a forest in the valley, and literally the way I was seeing it, and here is the little drawing I made. I'm seeing this, you see how there's a Y in there? And it's literally a valley where this is a forest down here, okay? So I was seeing this forest in a valley where the heart is on top of the forest in the valley, and then it grows. It becomes this big heart over this forest in the valley. And then I see a bat come out of the forest, and it's dressed in Mexican garb, like literally with sombrero and all that. But it was funny because I want to say macrame, or not macrame, but just like homemade outfit, like even something knitted. But like, you know, something not a typical person would wear every day, but what you would think of as that celebration garb that a Mexican would wear in celebration with a sombrero. So this bat flies out of the forest dressed in this garb and flies around the whole valley. It's like they're overseeing the valley. And then I see what I was getting as suction cups, but they didn't necessarily look like suction cups. They looked like 2 rectangular pieces coming together that had another metal post on them, and they were connected to a tube, and both of them coming together, whether it was suction or magnetic energy bringing them together. And then I see the plus sign, but it's like 3D, like there's like metal behind it, like it's made out of metal, like if you were on a construction site or something like that. So it was the plus sign that kept wavering back and forth, like just subtly like this. So one moment it was the X, and 1 minute it was the plus sign. And it kept going subtly back and forth. in 3-dimension between the plus and the X, which ultimately are the same, obviously. It's just it's just the subtlest of movements changes them. And then I see the plus sign and the X sign become a propeller inside those 2 suction cups, which here's my rough drawings right here. So these were like the cups that I was seeing, and then the X's. And then they became a propeller here inside the 2 suction cups right here, which then I was getting the energy of self-propelling, right? The magnetism or suction was causing the spin of these propellers. And I don't know if it's 1 propeller or 4 prongs or the 2 of them and the representation of the multi-directional spin. But that was coming up. So I had the suction cup as a propeller, and also the water wheel was then coming up. The fan, the wheel, the water wheel. And then I saw a man's eye, which was a more rounded type eye, and it was kind of odd energy to me. And then right after that man's eye, I see the feminine's eyelashes, like she's looking down and sad. And then those eyelashes get up and fly away. And then I was getting a gift from the stars. And I'd actually gone into Elena Danan's book the other day, which I will read to you. And it was from page 338, and I wrote down a gift from the stars at 338. So that took me back to her message. And then I was guided to pull from my fortune deck here to try to bring some information around what I just saw in. And the bottom of the deck is the 24, the patience card, and the first card out is the proposal, 27. But you notice after this abundance of celebration here is then 26 and 28, and we have 24 over here. So the one missing is 25, representing 2025, but also where's Waldo type of energy. Like where was the 25, which is the year coming up, but also the Knight of Wands, which that energy of ignition keeps coming up, of the flame, right? That which triggers you, like the phoenix to rise, like the rocket's flame to rise. And I was also getting the energies of June to August next year of events in 25. But also I went back through the whole deck because they were guiding me to this message. And after all of the 20s were coming up, 27 to 26 and 28, and then 616 was coming up as a specific number that might resonate with someone. You can look that up if you'd like. But again, it was 6, 16, and then 8, which is the reference. I was getting June to August. And again, 16 is the tower of sudden events. And then 35, 36 came up of the opening of the heart around the world. The 12 of the Fool and the Hanging Man, the Wise One, and the 32 of transformation, of breaking the chains, and the 33 unicorns, which is also crossing the 40 bridge, to the 22 mountain, which is also the 5D station, and the 15 of the key, which is the skeleton key, of the 2 of the angels and higher selves, with the 21 moon, which is the moon and the world, but the daughter moon, with the 19 lucky sun, and the 4 of the birth of 13 of golds to the gold, and the 30 of union of this with the sun, the central sun I'm getting now, and then the 10 of the fire, and 3 of beware, which is that energy of beware of Mother Nature, right? Which is Mother Nature was coming through me that day. And then the 9 of the eagle and the 25 of the phoenix, which is the plus sign of the vertical phoenix rising as the Knight of Wands, which is 25. And then the eagle soaring across, and I've actually posted an image that I created of the 2 of them meshing together, which then becomes the dragonfly. And then the 14 came up with judgment, which judgment is that wake-up call. And then I literally drew this, which ended up being the star, which is also the energy of that fan that I showed you, of everything coming together. But the judgment card has to do with like the binding of the book, all of a sudden projecting out. And the 14 is the temperance card of the angels. And here's this star then bursting out, and then coming in the 23, which is the King of Wands, as the wise owl. And the owl is also known as the night eagle, which could reference the feminine eagle as opposed to the masculine eagle who was just soaring across to the phoenix rising. And here also, the night owl could be the one, it was coming back around, which was referencing the one hermit coming as the bat out of the woods, circling around the valley, and the other one bringing it home, like the night eagle, right? The night and day. And then the 17 of love and dreams coming true, as the 29 comes in with the star from Sirius, a gift to you. The 3 of beware of Mother Nature soaring as the eagle. And the 9 of the phoenix rising. The 25 of the Knight of Wands, which is that spark, right? The rocket's blast. And then I was getting September through 25. The eagle soars, and then the phoenix rises in the waking up of the angels. And the 23 of the King of Wands, the wise owl, the night eagle that dreams of love and gets a gift from the stars. And then I was getting, literally hearing, when the chariot's ready, the lion will call, from love of Sirius. And remember too, Sirius comes up as Sir Jesus, because Eus means Jesus in the dictionary. In Wiktionary, there's a definition there. And then I was getting the Mexican Jesus from the Mexican bat flying around the valley. So yeah, it's a whole lot. And there's some stuff from my messages that will come up regarding that too. So if you could comment below, I would love that. All right, so we're going back now to the 28th. And I'm not going to, I had done some messages, and I'm going to read some highlights from those messages. I'm not going to do all of them. So back on the 27th, rather, here we have, I did a read, and 4 6s came up. So I did want you to know that. All right. So all 4 6s, because that rarely happens when I do one of these reads. Flash of light came up from the message there. Yes, 2, of course. Lovers 4. And indict was coming, like indicting something. The lovers. If you ace the 9 of Wands, or the wounded warrior who needs to surrender. Completion of 2, of course. Ending pain with the 64. To mention or declare the value of lovers if they ace their surrender of the wounded warrior. Also to self, a yes of the 2 of Cups, of 6 and 4. And that came up again too, the relationship between the masculine and feminine around the 5, which is the center. And the bliss in 2, to see the lovers, yes, 19 or 1 to 9 of flames. The balance between the 4 of Wands and the 6 of Wands. And the change in the middle, which is the 5. Of union and leading the way. Indigo also came up. It was funny too, because Sex and the City was on in the background when I wrote indigo, and Carrie literally said, "Is the word dig like I dig it?" I think Samantha said dig it, and then Carrie says, "Is dig actually in again?" As I literally said indigo. So that was coming up. And then in that read, it was very interesting because the 4 suits were coming up and this had come up another day, which is why I wrote it down. One suit referenced the mother and child, another suit referenced the father and child, another suit referenced the couple, as in the 2 adults, and then the next suit represented the children or the innocents with a big heart. Dropping the facade at the end here, I had written, dropping the facade or the act and the need to be patient, and patient just came up in the underlying energies there with the hourglass. Remember, the hourglass is the middle of the infinity symbol. Dropping the facade or the act, tripped up, not proposing, getting over loss with guidance to lead by example, sharing the love and charitable, but challenged by the lovers reversed, which can reference a breakup. It can reference a lack of affection, and that could be Gemini energy as well. But the twin flames take the lead to peace, to fix things up and make amends, to heal and shine and show the stars. Healing through surrender, letting go of the need to fight, especially about the past and the inability to move on as the sons and daughters become impatient. And that was at 11:33. So then on the 28th, I highlighted my appetite had changed. Like all that week I was I'm ovo-lacto vegetarian, so I eat egg and cheese, and I don't usually eat a lot of eggs, but that week I was craving egg salad every day, which I had every day, and I rarely do that. So there's something about food and hungry and the digestive system, because we're in Virgo, that's coming up, and again, detoxing that. All right, so then I pulled from the past life deck that morning on the 28th, and the underlying energy was the farm, and the first card out was knighthood, along with trust and faith and vows, and then the angels. And farm keeps coming up as FRM. Like F is digamma, the twin flame energy, and again, that bidirectional energy. And then the M is the mountains, but also co-creation. And the trees were coming up as well. But inside, the underlying energy was inside stone, looking up at the sun, coming through the trees, as the yellow flowers light up like gold, 98 degrees of humanity's gold, to see how hot you are inside, to see how it feels to be the same temperature inside and out. Or in other words, you know, literally forcing yourself to sit in 98 degrees, right? Down on the farm, hippocampus, which hippo means horse, and hippocampus is supposed to mean seahorse. But I keep getting the farm here, right? Because it's like horse farm, the horse on the campus. The seahorse, and of course the hippocampus has a lot to do with your memory. The seahorse and water horse who turns the water wheel, which I'm blanking out on the word, the horsepower. Horsepower literally is the water wheel 144 times. So here comes up the water wheel 144 times of horsepower, which is the salt water at 98 degrees, which is the human water inside of you. The hippocampus, the high PPOCAMPUS, the high PP. I was getting Ocean City in the AM, and the P, which is rho, which is also for me housing of the pin, because I use that as a technical diagram at one point. It's the masculine back of the pin and then the housing at the top. The energy of high PP Ocean City in AM housing US or us. The high PP or pages of human arc with a C and a K, the whispering bench, the arch, the leap to the I am, housing us, housed in US, rowing the holy grail of the sign of Sophia, the train and the grail, the tree rain or ray in, and the gur rail or ray il, I-L, which also means he in French, I will. The tree receives the ray and little t sends the ray. So the letter G is literally C and then a little t. So it's like the little t leaping to source. The tree receives the ray and little t sends ray through will. And then you send me came up. The tree equaling the plus sign, right, where the horizontal meets the vertical is the portal, right, the grid point of the shaman, the plus sign and ET, which means and or more, the space between, where two come together, let no man put asunder. Down on the farm, down under, Aussie nation, gold sign, as in SINE, yes, unforgettable connection. The buttercup yellow and God the Ancient One, the sine wave of yes in golden mean, the spiral of intent, will, to use, I will. So it was coming up as she, and of course the word she is both she and he. Love, rain, and rain, right? Rain like coming down and rain like power over others. She and he love, rain, or rain over or o'er, like in the song me. The who? You. He grail, she holy grail, that reigns on thee, tree, and re, which is the shaman. She reign, who he rail, rails, or so she is the re or shaman reign, who reigns, and he is the of the rail, who rails, which is also clicking or crackling that you hear from the popping open of the airways collapsed by fluid or swelling. He sends intent to source father and mother, then mother reigns over the earth to nourish the soil. So I will, not a circle, but a spiral of learning, of becoming more, the mountain's ore, the fool's gold, pure gold, God the Ancient One, or remember God is Toi. You, Y-O-U, where all roads lead home, the human embodiment of Source, you, the Holy Grail. And then they were giving me the circles again with the, I'll show you as much as I can of it, all right? So we have the Y, the plus, and the X, okay? And see how 144 comes up here too. 1 is because this is the point of Source, all roads lead home, and then the 4 of the 4 directions of the plus sign and the X. So it's coming up as and I posted something on this too, where X meets Y, who asks the question, and where X marks the spot or the place. And again, the energy of the masculine movement and the feminine's non-movement. The 144 was coming out, also comes up as 111 with 2 L's in between, and 2 L's don't make an R. And then the L is 50, so 150, 151 also comes up, so the 5 ones of the King of Swords and the 15 of the Devil coming up there as well. And the 111, which is also the same as the pi symbol, the parentheses with the 1 in the middle, because the line is actually 2 dots with an arc between it. And then the 4 was coming up too, because 4 can represent a flag as well, but it's also was representing the, right, the L is the 90-degree angle, and the 4 then cuts into the 45-degree angle when you write the, when you have the pointed 4 like a flag. The ignition to open the lock, to shift or turn, the entrance to the ship, the circus, or circa 144/9 or 18. Jumping through the ring of fire to ice in the end or cold delivery, like literally birthing a child, right? The child is really hot in 98 degrees and then comes out to our temperature, which would be freezing cold at the other end. Where X meets Y, who asks the question, where X marks the spot. Y with the intent and will, and we will of the golden the golden mean with intent and arousal to ignite the X to shift into neutral, to find the answers, or that 0 point energy. So the masculine triggers the feminine to shift into neutral to find the answer, where the eagle soars horizontally and the phoenix rises vertically to meet at the crossroads of the dragonfly. And again, I've posted that, and I'm posting, I'm trying to post my Instagram to TikTok and to, you'll see them on my YouTube page, but it doesn't have the messages with them. I'm only posting there the short video clips, but also in my my Facebook page, not my personal Facebook, but the page I have attached to that, you'll see those posts as well. So you have multiple different places to look at those posts. So when the phoenix rises into this eagle soaring, they come together and make a dragonfly. He works straight through, and she does shift work. She the lock and he the key, the Y which equals 25, Knight of Wands, and the X which equals 24, the Queen of Wands. So again, this year, like I said before, 23 was the King of Wands, 24 is the Queen of Wands, and 25 will be the Knight of Wands, which is also that spark, that ignition, or the rocket's flare. He with the slow burn of the Knight of the Knight of Wands in this deck has a slow burn. He's learned how to control his passions, even though he's just the Knight. And she, as Omega 24, rocks the cradle, Newton's cradle. And to Z, which is the 26 of the Page of Wands. He blasts, she takes off in a curved vibrational fashion, with drops of Jupiter in her hair, with stars in her eyes. She has the spot and he has the wheel, driving her crazy. As Mr. Ed says, yes, and Mrs. Ed says, nay, with 144 turns of the wheel, from 14 to 44, a need for patience with her harvest, in her harvest. And actually, this is harvest time of the year, right? His strength and balance, Hercules or Hercules is her harvest, and Atlas, at last, the weight of the world and the weight of within, of fire and ice. And Isis came up with the Witality as well. All of the mother lineage from Mary Magdalene to the grand mother God herself was coming up there. So then God comes up here, and again, this is on the 28th of August. And God, if you add the L, becomes the gold, where God created L, right, or love, right? But word without the L then becomes world with the L. So God's word was created with just the R from God, but using, instead of G for God and the little t leaping to source, became the W of two U's instead, that twin flame energy, along with OD or WOD, but then God added R, that L of the right angle, left at the right angle. So God became gold with the L, but word became word with the R, and then only became world when you added both the R and the L together. So God's word created R and L because WOD alone, which means crazy, insane, mad, enraged, word and wood. So when God became two U's of G to W, the or the R came in. So God added gold to their name so that world would be a WOD, W-O-D, which is an enraged word with R and L, or crazy wood as well. So W-O-D is enraged word or crazy wood with the L or the R and the L, or crazy world with two U's, human right and left on divine axis spin of the planet, spiraling left at the right angle, where two left and made it right with 144 spirals of energized water. Okay, so that's the horsepower of the water wheel. So left is X and right is Y. So now we have LX and RY, where LX is 60 lux of illumination and the child, and RY is to smolder up or sprinkle, the forest clearing to be long, the tree trunk circumference, and I did a post on this as well. Fame and reputation to drive, ride, row, and give, and the railway. The ray of will. And then I was getting Fonzie saying, "Ay, Fonzie with a need to swallow their pride. Pride is the P ride, the housing ride, of PR and ID or identity, and the E of energy temple. The two temples, and again of the head, right, your two temples around your eyes, one equal and congruent to the other, as to not get a headache. Press and fame of 2.718281828, which is also the two of the three of Pentacles, 71, co-creating 8 to 8, or 1, 8, or 18, and then 28, which is the Two of Wands, and the 18 is the moon, but also the romance between the eights. And again, remember the hourglass is the infinity symbol in the center with two half moons on either side, which is your independence, the hourglass is where you guys come together in the infinity. No need for the rest of this number, which after the 7.218281828 is 459045, which is again the 90 degrees and the 45 degrees I just talked about, and the dance of the X to 90 degrees to make the shift, right, from the plus sign to the X and back. As this was just the underlying energy, the prep to the next page at 1251, which is the Hanging Man and the King of Swords, who came up. So the Knighthood is the first card that came out, the Knight's Hood, and that can reference circumcision as well. Where trust and faith, so what I showed you before, I showed you a Y circle, an X circle, and a plus circle, and now they're coming to the H, right, because the H is two bridges of the masculine and feminine, and then the bridge to connect them together, right? This is the one bridge, this is the other bridge, and here is the salt that grounds them, right? The bridge across, which can reference that third energy of Jesus, or however you look at the bridge across from one to the other, right? You have to connect vertically to source direct, and then you have the help of the sun in order to connect. So, and either side of these three circles are the X and the Y, but literally those three circles is the H. The three bridges, they're all representing three bridges. The Y is three bridges, right, because it's got three roads in it leading home, and the H is a bridge, and the three circles are three bridges themselves. The two pi symbols and the salt symbol in the middle. Two bridges cross and create a portal or a grid point, which then creates another bridge. It's a portal. When two come together, creating a third. And then pi literally was coming up as if when you add the two pi's together, it's 6.2830. But then you divide that by 3 to make it a third, and the number comes out 2.094330. It was just really interesting because when you add that third, 2.09 to, what was I writing here? The 2.0943 is two source hermits. The emperor and the empress were coming up as the number, literally. And then when you add 2 to the 6.2830, because salt, right, literally is the symbol of the dash of one to the other, so it's the number 2. So you have 3.142 and 3.1415, however much of pi you want to put out there. So the three of them added together equals 8.2830, which is the dance, or the infinite dance, of the 28 twin flames in union of the number 30, which is the 4 of wands. So it's really cool how the numbers came up. So the knighthood, the knight's hood, of trust and faith in vows of angels, the knight with hood, as Lady Liberty vows, with sun at her left shoulder, the etheric flame in right, in the arms of angels, as they look on. The sun from the mother's side, and Mother Mary was coming up there, with flame unseen from the right-hand man, as Father is unseen, until the rays of the sun cycle around to LX, or the left, illuminating the divine feminine with peace and child. The high priestess or higher self prepares for the knight's hood, where Lady Liberty and young ladies vow to be angels, or with Mother Mary on that left side, if the sun or sun acts up. So then Serapis Bey came up, and Bey means Lord, and that came up again today as well, the word Lord. But Sir Apis is literally the next incarnation of Serapis Bey, was then Sir Apis, which Sir literally is Lord, so Bey was redundant there. But it was coming up as equal to the farm, the way the cards were coming up. Sir Apis is apis, to farm. To absorb is to farm. Mirage is to farm, was coming up from the definitions there, and was coming up with is be why, or is why, right? The evening pies, which means the evening out of the two pi symbols with the salt symbol across, or dash, number 2. To farm, the twin flame arm, the father or fourth father's room or arm, and RM also means fish, and weep. The father's fish missing JC, or father and son, father missing their son. So Serapis, Sarah is in there, which is the evening there. To lock, to be, late and bind, a bolt for flashing door or fastening doors, and also colostrum. Bee stings, enemy and policy. So again, kind of like the energy of taking a little bit of poison to be the cure. The balancing or evening of the pies to the farm, or the twin flames who are, like Toys R Us, the twin flames are co-creating. The digamma or mother arm, the father and the mother arm, not just the father. The evening of the score between the masculine and the feminine of the two pies, which are both equal between masculine and feminine. To farm, the twin flame arm, are co-creation. When two come together, the salt binds. Bridge built and then grounded. Physically coming together, 2 pi, which is 6.2830, the lovers' twin flame union. And Isbi came up in that word also in Serapis, which is plural for Izba, which is a Russian log hut. So the mirage of log huts was also coming in. So perhaps imagine what that would look like, a mirage of log Russian huts. And then the Y comes up there, where all roads lead home. The Neanderthal man crawling out of a tunnel, which I'd seen before in one of my meditations for you guys, which was the divine masculine tunneling through, right? Because we bridge across, but they tunnel through to come quicker. It's harder, but it's quicker. And the energy of swollen eyes. And then Velma and Daphne had come up as a combination, and the owl. So I was guided to open Elena's book, A Gift from the Stars, and I opened to page 338, which is the page of the Pleiades, and M45 cluster, and Lyra K62, where she talks about the Merkaba breakdown, which is Mer, M-I-R, and then Ka, K-A with the cap on it, and then Ba, B-A-H, which means pyramid energy spirit. The light, and there was a light flashing at me right at that moment at 2:27 from, I think my daughter was leaving for work or something, and her light flashed in my face. And Metatron was on page, coming up, I think it was page 374, which equals, this is what she wrote in the book, the sigil of source. So I looked up sigil, which means seal, or programming, image or magic symbol, sign, or letter, some kind of symbol, encompassing all created shapes in the whole universe. 3-faceted, and again, the pyramids used in the Merkaba are 3-sided, not 4-sided, right? They have 3 sides and a base, not 4 like the pyramids in Egypt. The pyramid powered by life force energy, or Ka, of the soul light being or transporting them. And then the symbol of the Ka was similar to the being I showed you before too, where their hands are squared up in the air around the pyramid, this symbol. And then this is a quick sketch of the bird down below. So that whole symbol was the Merkaba, right? The top is the Mer, the Ka, and then the Ba, being the bird. When night is still, she was describing how she connects. When the night is still, and she always wears her Merkaba, Elena expands her vessel and crystallizes it in adamantine light. She can then leave this density to visit her friends. So I looked up adamantine and TINE and also T-A-N-E, but it means unbreakable chains. It's that which is unbreakable. And again, representing your diamond light. And then I'd gone into some of the symbols in her book too I was looking at, so you might want to check them out if you feel inspired. And again, her describing each dimension with 12 densities and the 13th density that's common to all dimensions. So again, that's, like that 0 point where you can travel from dimension to dimension, which also represents that dash, right, between space. And I started to watch the Neanderthal on the documentary on Netflix. I didn't watch the whole thing, but just the Neanderthal energy was coming up as important. So it's literally, I wrote down Christ dead, right, which is the Christ-ed, and then the plus sign, with urgency, infinite urgency of all. And urgency was coming also of urge and see. The Christed one of RTH, which is also earth, all. And again, eartha was coming up, which means earth or ground. The energy of grounding the connection, right, between the Christed human and Source, Mr. Ed. Neanderthal was also coming up as Ni, E-T, of the earth and divine axis spin, right? The bending down on one knee of the E-T, which also represents and or more of the earth on the divine axis spin or the planet. So again, I told you that when I connected with someone, we were literally getting that we opened a bridge, and that was a Canadian-US bridge. And then I went to Ocean City with my daughter on the 29th, and the bridge was open. It's never open. Of course, we had to wait, quite a bit for the bridge to close again. But it was just confirming that the bridge was open. And I've kept finding wishes and feathers. I found a baby feather literally on the water, sitting on the rocks in the ocean, and then 2 other feathers sitting on the beach right next to it when I got up to pick it up. And then we found another a white feather in front of me. My daughter pointed out right in front of my nose on the boardwalk as we were walking. And then at home again too, when I'm on my walks with Teddy, I keep finding more feathers. And the farm was coming up again. Again, the farm, the F of the digamma energy and the M of co-creation, and the mother and the mountain, and F and M are the father and the mother. The father, our mother. And the next read I'd done for you had double 5s and double 8s, which 5 and 8 is, what do I say? It's right. 5 is the freedom and the energy, and 8 is the power. Right. So 5 is the movement, and 8 is the power behind the movement. Right, like the blast of the fire. Oh, greased lightning is what I want to say. So in numerology, 5 and 8 together are considered greased lightning. And double 5s and double 8s were coming up in that message. So I wanted to let you know that, because that was also significant. And then on the 30th, again, I wrote down the 55 and 88 with 3111, which was the pattern of that last read of 3 cups. Yeah, it was 3111 of 3 cups, 1 wand, 1 pentacle, and 1 sword. So I'd written them down of the social, and with the cards that were coming out, the 10 of Pentacles reversed, the 10 of Cups reversed, with the 4 of Wands reversed, which are all the homes, right? The families and homes were all reversed, with the 4 of Swords upright, though, and the 6 of Swords upright, which we just talked about, the masculine and feminine, with the 5 of change between them. And 46, of course, is the 2 children hugging each other in innocence. The cards have come out as 135810, and social urgency of freedom and power, of change and strength, of truth and the crazy 8's dance, of 55 and 88, which equals 143. So I looked up some of the numbers. 143 was Rock, Frog, Hero, Them, Colleen, and then Dylan was on that list as well. And I also looked up 144 and 441, the reverse. So 144 came up Light of Feminine, like Lady Liberty, and I was getting the Time of Ellis from the different words that had come up. 441 was coming up as Let Freedom Ring, and Enki Mathematics. Enki's Ea Poseidon. And DNT also came up, which is DNA in another language. That was also coming up. And Do Not Track. Social structures and families fall as those who meditate and rest find peace. So go within and farewell. With the sun upright, or the moon was upright and the sun was reversed. And the energy challenging in this 5 and 8 energy, because the 5s and 8s were both upright, very powerful, to challenge, to ascend, to move and rise, and blocked by love and clearing blocks of love by being offered from a painful place, or the need to offer time, money, and energy in order to get love. That love is for free, naturally, with reciprocity. The 10 of Pentacles reversed dealing with swords, with the 10 of Swords upright, and the 10 of Cups reversed dealing with the 10 of Wands upright. And it was interesting because it was coming up regarding both families were reversed. The 10 of Pentacles reversed and the 10 of Cups reversed, like the Montagus and the Capulets. And one being the financially based family and the other being emotionally based family, right? And one to make allowances, the wealthy intellectualizing, perhaps wealthy entitlement or laziness, with no emotion or overthinking and detached, resisting and the need to allow and flow. And then the average or loving family dealing with extremes of emotions and responsibility, physical burdens, attached and persistence. And again, the energy of surrender and letting go, the dance between push and pull, to surrender, to flow in the middle. Perhaps on one end, make allowances, and the other end, make budgets. Both grateful for what they have and are with compassion for the other's circumstance. Attention to intention, right? Because attention takes away from you, and intention, right, is the power that is the channeling that comes within you. Attention is a tent connection versus intent connection. Again, the energy of the pyramid vortex or the home. So then a lot of symbology was coming up for me regarding the number 4. And I posted on this as well, because the 4 is the plus sign. Like this 4 is like the plus sign, okay? And it's just crossing over right now, which is the line right here, because it can be an arc or a line. So then again, the Y circle and the plus circle and the X circle came together again here. And the sunrise, when you bring the Y, the X, and the plus sign together, it makes the sunrise. And also, of course, within the plus sign, you have the L's, backward and forward, of 90-degree angles. And the degrees of those 3 were coming together. And again, the H again of the 2 pi symbols and the salt in the middle that make the H. And the infinity symbol with the X and the Y on either side, like I showed you before. And then the numbers came up again, 1 through 9. I was getting 12 and 34 because they were first bringing up the degrees of the different angles, right? Because the plus sign is 90 degrees in the circle, and then the Y is 120 degrees in the circle. And the X was then coming up, instead of being like the plus sign, was coming up as a narrower X, like the chromosomes, with 60 degrees on either end, and then 120 degrees on either side. And again, the 25 of the Y and the 24 of the X. To free the 25, and the 24 is the even number, or the Queen of Wands, to stabilize. At the L at the right angle, left at the right angle. The energy of the star when the X and the plus sign come between. And the numbers 01, I always talk about my 698 pod, which with the 7 key, which is the second set, 6, 7, 8, 9, from the first set, 2, 3, 4, 5, which adds up to 14 of the angels, and the 6, 7, 8, 9 adds up to 30 of the union. And that is bordered by 01 on one side and 10 of 10 on the other side. But also you could start from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, 7, 8, 9 with 5 in the middle, right, which is the axis point. And 1 through 9 equals 144. Well, actually 2 through 9 equals 144, but the 1 makes it 145. But the 2 through 9, the two sets, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, actually equal 144. And also just writing those sections, right, because it's sections of 1, 4, and 4 numbers. And medicine adds up to 44 as well. And then medicine was coming up, because I can be the number 1, but it also could be the number 9. The magic of the magician and the patient angel, of the stability and celebration of home and union. The energy of the Y. So the way the different letters can bend, right? Because this can be E, but it also can be the Y on a slant like that. So the epsilon was coming up again there with the Y, and the H is when they're bent, and the salt in the space between. And then Y came up, W-H-I, because it has the H in the middle, and W, the pointed capital W is 2 V's, or co-create, 2 creators. The H is 1 to 1, and then the Y, which is where all roads lead home. So 2 bridges are creators, the word Y. 1 to 1, bridge across, but across was coming up as a cross. Not a cross, but A being like atypical. It's not a cross. To 0 point, where all roads lead home, where Y is in left field. And left and right, if you merge them together, become the B with an accented 1, which is also 13, which is the Death card or transition. Where the word who, right, and remember Y is out in left field, and who is on first base. WHO is the 2 creators, 1 to 1 bridge across to 0 point human, as opposed to where all roads lead home, which is source, where they're on first base. Who's on first base? And the embodiment is the human embodiment of source, where the other one is directly to source. On the 1 path, B, ace, or as the E, the squared E, the rounded E, and the Y, of the temple, which is the Tem pull, or TM pull, and in Pleiades, Elena always talks about the Pleiades god is M, Imana, which they see as a feminine god. And the temple was also coming up as tomorrow, so remember in who and why, who's on first, and tomorrow is the picture, and today is the home base. And the picture is coming up tomorrow with the temple, to be complete in the middle of time and space, where everything in the middle totals push, the pull and the push, the tree and the mountain, or at the height of conflict, the plenary session, the strike. Please a discussion or dealings in 3D, the shaman's remembrance at the middle of time and space, to source me, which time is source me, at Sophia's pace, space. And TM is tomorrow, to be complete, everything, totality, completion, Atum, the God, and then okay. So, to bring the 2 pies together is the merge and become each other's balance or wills. When you merge the 2 circles together, they then become, the line down the middle becomes curved, and they become each other's line down the middle with the salt connection in the middle, okay? Which grounds them both. The energy of the arc that radiates to anti the C's, right? Make the C's oppose each other in order to pairing of the C's, or antithesis to parentheses. Anti the C's, or make them opposite, opposing, in order for them to come together in pairing of the C's. And then becomes the Pisces symbol as the sharing of the C's. To pair. And then the partridge in a pear tree came up. And the partridge came up, the tri in partridge was coming up as the trident again of Poseidon. You must anti the C's in order to pair the C's and become two peas in a pod, right? So the one I just showed you here would be considered one pea in the pod, and then becoming two peas in the pod next to each other. The pairing of the trident. So remember, the line is the leap between 2 points. It's the leap, it's the arc, it's the arch, it's the bridge, it's the rainbow bridge. The parentheses trident GE was coming up for partridge, where pairing the C's, 3 of nitro energy, so explosive energy, and a Pa IR, or father of I am, the tree of shamans. So tree was coming up as T, or top dog, Re, which is shaman. And again, the 2 parentheses next to the trident of Poseidon, which is a U with a line down the middle. Energy in a pair of trees. Par equal mean and to chill and hang out, to appear. The ENT, which is the humanoid talking tree, giant. Hesis, which Hesis is also Jesus. To be brought to a standstill, suspended. To attach, follow, to be embarrassed. The root clinging, to persist or hesitate. To appear to hang, the giant humanoid talking tree, Jesus, suspended, at a standstill. Tried the ENT energy in a pair of trees. The father of, or for, IR, or I am, the tree of shamans. 2 trees, of Y and Y. And then it came up as this symbol here of the 2 Y's, families brought together by the trident. The trident bridge, where trident equals the plus sign, because it's the in-between, the and. 3 dents of Y, Y, and Y. The trident in the middle is just curved Y, where I was showing you pointy Y's. So we have Y and Y with a plus sign in the middle, which then was bringing this symbol here of the W, which was coming up as significant for whatever reason. All right, so this is the 2 Y's and the X in the middle. But it's also a W with 2 diamonds. And the 2 diamonds, it's also like the 6 and reflecting the 6. 6, I'm getting sexes. The co-creation of the sexes. The 2 trees of the Y's and the X in the middle, which then becomes the energy that I showed you before of the torus and the trident coming together, right? So this is the torus, the apple, and then the trident holds it. It's like the cup that holds the torus. And you see the little flags on either side of the trident, which are like number 4s, and represent the 3.14, because if you reflect 3.14, it literally writes pi. So you have 3.14 pi on one side, and then literally pi on the other side, as reflections of the apple held by the trident, which then becomes Noah's Ark, so to speak. The torus in trident, the 2 are us, in 3 of ENT, the giant living talking tree, or the living library, the 2 of us in the 3 of ENT. The temple E of epsilon, the curved 3, half, which is the curved 3, is half of salt, which radiates to the other pair, 3. And then you have see the E is the half of salt, and then the W is half of pi, which radiates to the other side. So in these 2 coming together, it's of course the plus sign in the circle, the rolling, which is the rolling stone, because it represents E, M, 3, and W, the same symbol in different positions. The rolling stone, the infinite E to the H in G, or E rho 1 to 1 in G, where little t bridges to source, which source is sour C. So you are CE, or the temple, the Christ to Ed temple. So you are bridge and temple together. And the castle with the moat. So 3.14 reflects 4.13, and if you add those two together, and this was at 413, if you add those together with the golden mean, the 1.618, that equals the 8.888, and causes it to spin, right? So the pi and the salt come together and create the plus sign in the circle, but it's the 6.618, or the phi energy, that create, right, going outside the lines, drawing outside the lines, which causes it to spin. And the three of them equal 8.888. The Four of Pentacles and Chariot key, and again the energy of the double bladder of Vesica Pisces, because when the two circles come together, it creates the Vesica Pisces, which is the double fish bladder, with sudden romance of infinite 888 Lionsgate, infinite point Lionsgate, 888, the tower and the moon. And then Lionsgate again was coming up today in those messages. And here is like a better picture of the Noah's Ark type of energy right there, with the 3.14, and then 4.13 equals the word pi. And then again, this is the vortex of the portal here. The apple, it comes up as the apple of Poseidon's eye. He holds you with his trident. Oh, so cool, because the King of Wands was coming up today and yesterday too, as he's the King of Wands, and you, the feminine, is the Ace of Wands. And he right, because the feminine energy is so massively expansive, he must hold you in order to ground you, right, to keep you from expanding too much, kind of under his thumb, right? The apple of Poseidon's eye, he holds you with his trident. Taurus, right to the core. And again, the representation of the apple and the energy and all that. 2 pi with salt. And then spin. There's a lot about stillness and spin coming up here. And I was looking into the masters as well, and how my 8 and 9 in my 698 pod, they activate together, right? Because you have the 6 and the 9 together, it makes the 8 in the pod. But the 8 and the 9 come in at the same time. And it was coming up as the heart as well. Because remember, the heart, the top of the heart is the infinity, and the bottom of the heart is the V. And the sea foam heart, or high heart energy, was coming up with the golden chalice of the heart, the V that holds it. The valley is coming up now since I saw that. And this energy of the numbers together. So you have the 8 and 9, right? It's like the 4 circles. But this 9 is missing just this quarter of a piece right here. And the chromosome was coming up too, like this, which is 2 hearts coming together. And the energy of self-radiating. So again, there's this energy of magnetized or self-projected movement, where the J reflected here with the 9, and the 4 circles together creates the diamond in the middle, which is the star, the vortex, which is the chromosomes under pressure, opens up the center. The pin, so the pineal was coming up, and the pituitary, the pin and the pit, and then the hypothalamus was coming up here. As pin as pi-in, P-I apostrophe N, pi-T, which is P-I apostrophe T, which remember T is literally the singularity if you visualize it from the top down. And then 1 to 1 YPO is hypo. was coming up as the two pies, one Christed or Christ to Ed, and then the T being the top dog. So one is her and one is him, with the tree, the top dog, and the tree, which is the top dog Re or shaman. And then the hypo is 1-to-1 0-point housing of human embodiment of source. Two peas in a pod, in a high pod. All right, then on the 31st, farms were coming up, and I drove up to my nephew had a family party that day, and I passed a place called Carramore Farms. And so the more people were coming up as well, because that came up more than once. And then it was Carramore, which is Ka, Ra, which are the first two chakra layers, right? Like in crystal, the root chakra and then the sacral chakra, and then more, and then Farms comes up again, which again is the FRMs, the Digamma channel rooms. How did it come up here? It came up with vows, biblical father in Egypt, scribe spirituality, food and hunger, as the carpenter and father, let's make a deal in Egypt, that they will write about us for years. It's like the Father and Jesus coming together to say, they'll write about us for years, let's make a deal, to develop their hunger for more, the humans. Ka-Ra, more farms, Digamma channel rooms, like Toys R Us, Father RMs, the offspring, the child, to give birth to the child, and the Egyptian was coming up here, with mercy and thanks, the root and sacral, and more, which is the MO of or, something more, the Father R to give birth to their offspring. And again, I think my daughter just showed me like an Instagram of where someone was supposed to have 5 puppies and they exploded into 15. The twins are to give birth, channeling gamma waves to birth. The vows of BI and FA, which are 2 and 4 EGY. And then spirituality and food and hunger came up, 24 sparks of the 12 of the apostles, which were actually 12 masculines and 12 feminines, eggy, score, spear, and food and hunger. So again, this energy of right, the need to kill your food. That was interesting. I didn't get that before. And then deliverance came up. That's funny. Talking about killing your food. Okay. So then we go to, let's see here. I still want to do, I'm going to do a Virgo read one of these days before Virgo ends, hopefully. All right, get past all this stuff. 131 came up as significant too. Oh, on the 3rd of September, I woke up, my father woke me up. I saw my father, and I opened my eyes to look what time it was, and it was 1:31 on the clock. But it wasn't just seeing my dad. When I opened my eyes, I then saw an image, like a portrait of him, like middle-aged-ish, not real young and not real old. And then right next to it, he made a big heart for me, and I was awake. I opened my eyes. I put my hand through it, and it didn't disappear. It stayed there. I saw the energy. It was very cool. I saw the projection of him, the heart projection, and I put my hand through it to see, to understand the energy better, and it didn't go away. But he was sending his love and being obvious about it. On the 3rd, then the time again at 1:31, I was listening to something.